Good morning. As James said, I'm John, this is Amber from Health and Parenting. Health and Parenting is a small developer, and we have a number of successful healthcare apps in the store. The two main ones are Pregnancy Plus and Tiny Beats. Pregnancy Plus is our flagship app, and it's got 4 million downloads a year and 1 million monthly active users. Since launch, it's ranked in the top 10 of the medical category in North America, the UK, and most of Europe, and that's in both the Google Play Store and iTunes. And it's often holding the #1 slot in downloads and grossing. And I checked last night, you can have a look as well. I think we're #1 in grossing at the moment. We also rank #1 on the keyword pregnancy, which is pretty good because there's over 2,000 pregnancy-related apps there as well. Okay, so I'm going to cover a few things about, as developers and publishers of our own apps, what we've learned, and share those learnings with you. So the first thing is, of course, you kind of create your app, and you're launching it into the store. And you guys probably all know this, but there's 68 categories in the iTunes store. Of those, 18 are games categories and 26 are news categories. And there's 1.5 million apps. So there's a huge amount of apps out there. And again, you probably already know that 95% are not making any money or not making their return on their initial investment. So discoverability, that's the big issue. So both Google and Apple use a store algorithm to rank the apps in their categories. And this is based on downloads and rankings and ratings. And Google recently revealed that they also count uninstalls and the length of time, the duration that apps are getting used. And of course, there's also the human element that does the editorial for the features and the editorial sections. So where does that leave health and parenting? So we have a kind of an internal goal that we want to have a high percentage of organic growth. So many of our installs are organic, about 80%. So we're going to take you through a series of areas that help us get to that. So the first one being is quality. So we focus very heavily on quality internally, and we set out to create apps that we would want to use, and not just ones that we think will make money. And I think that's quite crucial. We also put the user experience at the center of development. If you start out with a great app, it's really easy to promote. We get consistently rated 5 stars. This is a screen grab. You can't see the detail, but it's a screen grab from App Annie over the last couple of weeks. And it shows that we get kind of globally good reviews, which all add up to helping us percolate to the top in the store. It's important to note that promoting a poor app is almost not worth the money. It's kind of futile doing that. You're better off trying to solve the app quality in the first place. Secondly, we design for featuring. So what do I mean by that? If you've got a contact at Apple or Google, then it's really worth sharing with them what your development plans are, when you're planning to release, what you're planning to release, and talking to them about what features are required for you to get featured. So they could be simple things like the app needs to be universal, or it needs to be 64-bit, or it needs to be relevant for all the current device screen sizes. But it might also be that you need to be integrated with things like the Apple Watch. Languages as well, of course, are important if you need to get into certain regional or global featuring. So again, it's worth checking with them which languages are actually required for that specific territory. And finally, plan the time of your launch. It sounds obvious, but don't make the mistake of running up against any big hitters. So launching around Christmas or Thanksgiving or July the 4th are always going to be difficult times because you're going to have other key players trying to win over in those holiday periods. Okay, so you've made your app. You think you've got the best app out there. I think I've been guilty of being very blinkered and thinking this has got an amazing UI. There's no reason why anyone couldn't understand it. So testing is the kind of next critical thing you need to do with it. So, as well as having an internal test department that does all the usual things like crashes and bugs and all those kind of regular problems that you might get in software development, we also use an external company called usertesting.com. And the great thing about user testing is you can submit your app to them, to their website, and you send a profile of the type of person you're looking for. And in our instance, it's usually a pregnant woman or somebody who's just had a child, a newborn child. And they download the app, and then they film the app getting used. So you get back a 15-minute video, and it has, you can see all their finger taps, and you can hear their commentary. And it's incredibly useful because, of course, they're anonymous to us, and you hear all the warts and all. So I'm going to show you a short little clip, and then I'll talk about it afterwards.
So it says, what name would you like to look for first? I want to find a boy name. So it says, hello, I'm Baby Genius. I'm an intelligent app that can help you find the perfect name. Okay, got it. Allow to use my location. I'm going to not allow. It's just a name searching app. I don't know why it would need that. In order to help me find the perfect name, I need 2 pieces of information. So my first name and my country. So I'm in the United States. Okay. Now let's get started. With every vote, I learn more about what names you like. Okay, so this actually sounds cool. It's like a this or that kind of thing, and then it's going to pick out names for me.
So you can see there that the lady in question who was using it, she got asked by a very kind of standard-looking iOS pop-up that said, will you allow us to use your location? And she immediately said no. She didn't understand why the app required that piece of information. And then it's interesting to see on the very next screen, we say in a kind of more friendly way that we need 2 pieces of information. We needed her first name, and we needed the country that she lived in. And without any hesitation, she quite happily put in her location. And I think the key thing I learned from this is that it's all about contextual. You need to justify the reason why you're asking for something and be specific about it. She probably had the illusion that we were going to be tracking exactly what street she was on. She didn't realize all we needed to know was, the country that she was in. We call these things blockers, and they're barriers to people getting into the app. And as it's important that you want people to, once they've downloaded the app, they need to get through and actually start using it. And you don't want them to be deleting the app too soon, and you don't want them to, you want the retention to be great. It's very important that those barriers for someone using the app are broken down. Okay, so we've got quality, design for featuring, and then adding frequent updates. So frequent updates are important as well for the App Store algorithm. And of course, downloads, you hope the downloads are going to start coming. A combination of those things will start to work together to help you percolate up in the charts. And then that, of course, leads us on to doing any kind of additional promotional.
During my years working in digital advertising, I worked on many online advertising campaigns, and clients often came to us after having a failed campaign that wasn't profitable in the long term for help. And this is a typical, that's the right screen. Here's a typical graph of ad spend over time. What I saw in my work at the agency with clients is that it always starts with high hopes, and then as soon as volumes increase, the cost per install, the cost per product rose, and then they were forced to switch a campaign off. They were scared that it wasn't profitable in the long term. So why is it so hard to run a successful user acquisition campaign? Well, most amateurs can run a user acquisition campaign at low volumes. It's easy to hit your targets when the volumes are low, but it's difficult to run a profitable campaign at high volumes. And this is why it's very simple. The blue part at the bottom is the easy part, and the part at the top is hard, and this is also the Dutch flag of my home country. And hence the accent. So what happens if, because you want this visibility in the store, to have any visibility in the store, depending on your category, you need 100,000, maybe 10,000 installs per day. And at these high volumes, the CTR will lower. This is because in order to have more volume, you either have to increase the ad frequency, the amount of times it's shown to someone, or you have to open up your targeting. And this will make your ad less relevant and less interesting. And as soon as your CTR drops, your cost per click will increase. And there will be less impressions available. And this is because most AdWords networks, they will optimize towards CPM. So if your competitor has a better click-through rate, the best impressions at a lower cost will simply go to them. This is a nice graph that shows how dramatically the CPC increases as soon as your click-through rate drops. We all know this, I think, when you see on Facebook the same ad. You either clicked on it because you liked it to start with, or you don't. So at Health and Parenting, we developed a layered promotion. What we do is we have an always-on layer, which you can see at the bottom, and it falls in the easy category. So it's easy to be profitable there because it's low volume, very relevant, highly targeted ads. But within this layer, we do something extra. Every single ad is part of an A/B test. We have hundreds of A/B tests running in this layer, but it's throughout a whole year, and that makes it we have enough data to make it give it any significance. And as soon as we have an app update, we really want to benefit from this acceleration you get when you do an app update. And we then increase the volumes, and we do that until we hit the top 5 or top 10 in that category. Because by then, when you hit that top 10 or top 5, the organic installs will take over because of your visibility. So we then switch the campaigns off again. So we don't constantly run at a high level. And we do the same for new launches. Seems simple, but we don't see it often. Will it work? Well, the beauty from online is you can always do the maths. I highly suggest you always make a table where you fill in the cost per clicks, you will get at high volumes, your click to install rates, and then that's the amount of people that click will actually install your app. Then you can calculate your cost per install and see, based on your conversions rate, the people that actually spend money in your app, if it will be profitable. What you can see here is, I hear a lot of networks always saying, oh, go with us because the quality is much better, so people will spend more money if you go with us. But the actual percentage difference isn't that much between one network or the other, unless you have a really bad network. But what is a big difference is the country you're running in. So in Brazil, a conversion rate of 4% is still good, whereas in Switzerland, you can easily reach a conversion rate of 26%. So even though a cost per install of $11 seems great, it's just as profitable as the 73 cost per install for Switzerland. It's also important to know how much money are you going to make of each user. If you're only going to ask $1 of every single user, I can guarantee you it's almost impossible to run a profitable advertising campaign, because you see how low your cost per clicks need to be in order to make this work. And in this instance, I filled in quite good conversion rates and click-through rates. Or click-to-install rates. If you have a bit more money that you can make on each user, you have more to play with, and you see that in the table below. If you don't have any of these stats, there's a little trick you can do. You can set up a landing page promoting the launch of your app, but then at the same time, you run a real advertising campaign to that landing page. So then you can see what the interest in your app will be and what the likely cost per click will be for your advertising campaign. You can even run it at quite high levels for a few days. So it's a good way to test and do some calculations beforehand. So to summarize, use thousands of keywords, big keyword groups, lots of images, lots of different target audiences, and A/B test everything. If you run an advertising campaign, either become an expert or hire one. There's great software out there, but even the best software still needs someone using it who really knows what he's doing. The most successful advertising campaigns I've seen were always led by an expert, someone who knew how to set it up correctly. So you could even hire a top agency, learn from them, and then do it in-house if it's too expensive to continue. But make sure you know what you're doing. If you want large volumes, you have to use large networks. It's lovely to use boutique ad networks, and they work brilliant. But if you want good volume, you will need to include Facebook, Twitter, iAd, LinkedIn, and Google AdWords. And finally, do the maths.
Okay, so you've got your app, you've launched it, and you're promoting it. And we then spend quite a lot of time and effort on our customer support. So the customers can be your biggest fans and they can be your biggest haters. And quite often the same people who are very passionate, they can be turned around and made to be your best advocates. So we spend a lot of time and effort having a kind of quick response rate. So we try and respond as quickly as possible. It sounds obvious, but be nice and be good. Always try and solve, always try and help. And very important, and some people don't do this, is to make sure you localize your customer support as well, so that you've got someone in the country of the language who's able to understand those users much more kind of locally. And then kind of finally on this really is cross-promotion. So, once you get one successful app in the store, think about what else you can do to sell to the same user base. This is an example of this we did about a year ago, was launching our Tiny Beats app. Now, Tiny Beats is a fetal heart rate monitor that lets you listen to the baby's heartbeat inside your womb. And so what we did was once we were ready to launch it, we did a small campaign and we did a push notification to all of our current users of Pregnancy Plus. And of course, we were able to maximize the kind of velocity of downloads in that short launch weekend. And the App Store algorithm really helps with, if they see an app accelerating in downloads rapidly, you get pushed a lot higher. It all kind of adds up to that store ranking. It's important, I should add, by the way, that you should make sure your push notifications are localized, so they're time zone localized, so people don't get woken up in the middle of the night by an annoying text coming in. So with this, we were able to get to number 7 in paid overall, and number 75 in grossing, which is pretty good figures, considering all the games out there that are making tens of millions a month, if not a week. And then that in turn, of course, combined with our marketing campaign, means that you get picked up as well by the App Store algorithms, and we ended up getting featured in the best new apps. So to summarize, we think it's important that you combine the efforts of a very strong development team and then a great marketing and ongoing campaign to make sure that together they work well to ensure that you get great ratings and you stay high in the store for a long period of time. So thank you for your time.